Welcome to my video, guys. This is Switch Skate Reviews, and today's video is going to be on what I believe are clips that were cut way too short when it comes to being featured in either a online single part or a full-length feature film. Now, keep in mind with this, I'm not hating on the skaters because I do know that when it comes to creative control for their parts, it is not 100% up to them as far as what makes the cut and what does not, nor does it mean that the skater is in control of how the clips are edited. This is mostly going to be talking about the editors for the videos or the video parts that are being released and are showcased here in this video. So there's many reasons why clips can be cut short, and there's way too many to go and list them all in this intro, but when it comes to looking at the clips individually, we're going to do a dive into what I believe could be possibilities for why they were cut really short. Without anything else to say, let's jump in. Youness Amrani's part in the Nike SB Chronicles video. So this was my first exposure to him besides his 10 tricks that he did for, I believe it was Slam magazine. He is so technical and his tricks are absolutely amazing. As hard as they are, he makes them look just absolutely effortless. And one thing that really stood out when watching this part was one particular line that he does where he starts off with a hard flip down a small set of stairs, then he proceeds to go and do a 360 shove it on flat, heads over to another stair set and sets up for a nollie big heel. Watching the video, you would think that you'd be able to see a rollaway, but when you put the trick in slow motion, he's barely even absorbing impact before they decide to cut off the clip. Even in the clips that lead after that one, you get to see a lot more thorough rollaways. Even with the feeble down the kink rail at the exact same spot, despite how it wasn't as clean as he possibly could have done, you get to see a lot more of a thorough rollaway. This could have been for timing, for pacing with the song, but whatever the case is, comparatively speaking to other clips in the video, there is always a chance to be able to cut some of the clips a little bit shorter to be able to show more of a rollaway for that particular clip. And that's why this particular clip makes the list. Torey Pudwill in Shorty's How to Go Pro. This particular video was a huge influence on me as a child, especially with the idea of how young Torey was, and me thinking that because he is so young and capable of so much, it would be able to help influence me to try to learn a lot more tricks of my own. Watching this video, a lot of his part was done very, very well. The editing was very well on point with the music. However, when it comes to his nollie heel downstairs, you can tell that the editors decided to chop up what would be a very sketchy landing, if not possibly a fall, with how far he was leaning back. Looking at it in slow motion, you could see that his balance is starting to shift towards the back, and had it continued, possibly he could have actually shot his board forward because of how much he was off balance. Looking at the clips afterwards, you can see complete thorough rollaways. So this is one of the only clips, if not the only clip in his part, that you do not get to see a thorough, complete rollaway, making it questionable as far as if he did or did not land the trick. And for that, that's why this particular clip earns a spot on the list. Darrell Stanton in Trans Worlds Free Your Mind. This one hurts me to do because growing up, he was one of my absolute favorite skaters. I actually, for him, really liked the real lanky style where he drags his hand on the ground because the things that he was skating were so big. Even for today's standards, they are so big and some of them could be so hard to roll away. I really liked his style and gravitated towards it. One of my favorite parts of him to date, and one of the things that really stood out when watching this part, is the thrown in frontside feeble at the school in San Francisco. This is one of those that I was questionable as far as why they decided to throw this one in, because looking at the clip in regular speed, it does look like he's about to fall. When you go and put it in slow motion, you could see that he is very much off balance, and the clip was cut short to hide the sketchy landing, if not the complete bail that was done on that trick, because a couple clips later, you see a run at that exact same spot down the same rail where he nollie flips first and then back smiths down it, leaving me to question why was a front feeble that sketchy put into his part when clearly you can tell that he's comfortable on that rail, can backsmith down the rail, even though, yes, being able to backsmith does not mean that you're able to front feeble, but as far as cleanliness, why was a very sketchy front feeble put into a part very closely before putting a very nicely done backsmith on the exact same rail? Leaving me to want to add this trick and this clip into this list. Shane O'Neill and Shane Goes. This part absolutely broke the internet. That is undeniable. And his level of skateboarding is top tier, and he is in a class of his own as far as being able to pull off not only the hardest tricks that have been done in skateboarding as far as technicality wise, but the style for which he makes them look absolutely effortless. In his part, one clip really stood out to me as far as why it was cut so short, and it was the backside 80 nose grind, 180 heel flip out. When it comes to all of the clips for his part, there was always some kind of a rollaway that was able to be seen. However, for both the first and second angle, you can clearly see that literally as soon as all four wheels touch, the clip was cut onto the next one. Where you see in the very next clip, you see a 5-0 down a rail, the first clip being cut short, but the second clip being able to show a very long rollaway, leaving me to question why was something that we all know Shane is very capable of doing, having the clip cut so very short, not for even the timing purposes of matching with the song or being able to fit within the edit, because you can clearly edit down some of the other landings for other clips to be able to show a better rollaway for this one, making it something questionable for me and wanting to put on this list. Boo Johnson from Elements Future Nature video. This was my introduction to Boo Johnson as a whole. I'd seen a few different clips on Instagram from time to time, but as far as a full length, this was my first exposure to him, and he did not disappoint. His tricks look amazing. He is very technical, but still is able to even keep the simplest of tricks looking very, very well done. And in this video, there was one clip that caught my eye more than the others, as far as from an editing standpoint. And it was his nose grind, shove it out on a rail, where you can see when he goes to land the first one that he starts to lean a little bit too far forward and becomes off balance. Then when they show the second angle to show the slow motion of it, you could see that he's about to lean so far forward to where, had they continued the clip, that he would presumably fall forward, thus not being able to fully land the trick with a clean rollaway. Now with this, I listened to the song very carefully, and just with my interpretation of how they edited it, I can't see why they couldn't either show the full rollaway unless they were trying to hide a really sketchy, if not landed trick. But when it comes to the rest of his clips, all of them have very full shown rollaways. This is the only one of his entire part that was cut too short, and leaves me to believe that he actually did not land the trick. This is something that I know that he is very capable of doing more than once, leaving me to question why they added this trick into his part when none of the other tricks in his part even come close as far as sketchiness, and that's what I believe makes it deserve a spot on this list. Eric Koston's part in S's Minikmati. This is arguably Eric Koston's most iconic part to date, and for good reason. The boundaries for which were being pushed in skateboarding were second to none. His style was absolutely amazing, and with everything put into it, the song, the skating, timing, everything seemed perfect to make it a very, very good part that would stand the test of time. When looking at the tricks, everything was ahead of the game, and Eric Koston was at the top of his career for the time. However, watching this part, there is one trick that stands out to me as far as why it was added to the part, and that is his nollie frontside nose grind down the Wilshire 11 say rail. When looking at the trick, you can see as he locks into the nose grind, his back foot is barely hanging onto the board at all, pretty much just his heel on the board, and as he goes to land it, because of how much his board is hanging off, he lands unbalanced and starts to lean front side towards the wall, and his hands going up in the air as if he was starting to lean back and lose balance, ready to fall off the board. The second angle in slow motion doesn't really do it justice to save the clip. It more so just looks like Eric Koston is about to fall. This could be for multiple reasons. He possibly hurt himself on this attempt, therefore they just wanted to keep the clip in the part because he was not able to go and refilm the trick. This could be for timing as far as being able to set up the next couple of tricks. If you continue to watch the part, the tricks do line up really, really well with the song. However, as far as what I know Eric Koston is capable of doing, being able to replicate the nollie nose grind on the 11 would not be something to think is out of the realm for him. And with the fact that even in slow motion, it looks like he is about to fall on this trick, that's why I think that this trick in this clip deserves a spot on this list. Nick Tucker's Welcome to Grizzly video. The footage in this is absolutely amazing because of the fact that if you were to combine his Welcome to Primitive, Welcome to Diamond, and Welcome to Grizzly grip tape, that was supposed to be the Going Pro video part that was going to be featured in the Skate Mafia video at the time before he parted ways with the brand. In this video, the first clip in question is his nollie heel flip, backside nose grind, inward heel flip out. When he starts to land the trick, you can see that he's starting to lean back and he's having to tick-tock out of the landing to be able to save himself. And at the last bit of the clip, before it cuts away to the long lens shot of in front of him, you can see that he is starting to sketch out more than expected. But from the editor standpoint, they probably just wanted to make the clip look less sketchy. Knowing Nick Tucker, this is a trick that he very well could have refilmed, possibly with timing not being able to allow him to do so. But this is the first clip in his part that I wanted to call out and question for why the editors decided to make it look as it did, because it made it look a lot more sketchy than it really could have been by editing out the full landing. The second trick in question is the switch frontside 360 heel flip down the grass gap, that in the very first clip you can start to see that he is leaning forward, bending down, trying to save himself, and in the shot that was filmed from in front of him, you could see that when he lands, he starts to sketch out and he is about to fall. As soon as he goes towards the edge of the clip, they cut out and they go to his backside 360 kickflip down the double set, trying to save the clip to make it look less sketchy than it was. However, with the way that he kept the landing, you can tell that the trick was either completely sketched out, he fell afterwards, or possibly had to jump off to be able to save himself, making the clip look a lot more sketchy and questionable than it really should have been, because this is a trick that, again, knowing Nick Tucker and the way that he skates, he's able to do more than once, especially with the fact that he was a prodigy at the time, being looked at as the next up-and-comer of the San Diego area, and that's why I believe that both of these clips make the list. Carlos Ribiero in Transworld's duets part with Tiago Lemos. Carlos Ribiero is an absolute beast on a skateboard, and his ability to skate switch is almost second to none in the skateboarding industry, especially with his ability to master doing things into and out of a switch backside nose blunt, which for most skaters will never get the chance to be able to do switch. In this part, he does a line where he does a fakie 5-0, and then he goes and sets up for the second block to switch flip backside nose blunt, big spin out. However, when you take a look at the landing, he starts to sketch out, and towards the very last half second of the clip, you can see that he is going for a foot readjustment and is about to tick-tock away, and the editor decided to cut off the clip. The next trick in his part is a nollie 180 crook on a rail, where you can see as he goes to land, he does go and readjust after he lands, but still it looks like a great rollaway. That leads me to question, why is it that the editors, when you slow down and watch the switch flip nose blunt big spin out in slow motion, you see that it starts to sketch out, and for why they decided to cut this one early, when watching the part, you see that it is not a timing issue, it is not a syncing with the song issue. They just blatantly decided to cut this clip short to try to save what could possibly be a sketchy rollaway, when in fact you look at the rest of his footage, especially the next trick in his part, why they would need to clean up a possible sketchy landing, because of the fact that this is a trick very seldom seen in the skate industry. So it is understandable that this trick would be difficult to land. And that's why I feel that this trick deserves a spot on this list. Miles Silvas in Adidas's Away Days. He was the epitome of what people thought style should look like for many, many years, using the hashtag style for Miles. And also amongst my friends and I would jokingly say that he is the king of wacky waving inflatable arm flailing two-man style, for the fact that he's able to bend himself back so far, and he was doing it unnecessarily to add extra style to his tricks. Hence, if you look at the very first line in his part, you would see the frontside crook to fakie, had a lot of bending back to be able to save that trick when it looks like it's very unnecessary. But over the years of watching his parts, you see that he has really calmed that down and he has even better style now. But for this part, the one trick that really stands out as far as why it was cut short because of an editor's choice was the line that he did big spin backtail to fakie, and then he does a fakie flip nose grind on a ledge to end the line. And very quickly after his wheels touch down and it looks like he is going to sketch out the landing, they decide to cut it short. When watching the part in its entirety, it is the only clip that is cut that short, whereas the very next trick is a backside flip over a rail, onto a sidewalk, onto a street, and you can see a very, very prolonged landing for that trick and every other trick in his part. However, with this line, the last trick is cut very, very short, and if you watch it in slow motion, you can see that he is starting to sketch out the landing. Even on tricks such as the Nollie 180 crooks, you can see that he is going to lean out the landing. However, in the fakie flip nose grind, you can see that he is starting to sketch out the landing, and the editor decided to cut the clip short to be able to save what could possibly be a very sketchy landing, for reasons that it could possibly be that he didn't have another chance to go back to the spot to refilm it. But when watching the part, you can see it is not a syncing issue with the song. And if it was, they would be able to cut out some of the landings of the previously done clips that are prolonged to give this trick a chance to be able to roll away thoroughly. But in the end, they decided to cut this one short, making this a good trick to be added to this list. P-Rod standalone part and Plan B's Me, Myself, and I. Skateboarding was starting to go a lot more technical versus just going down huge sets of stairs and rails, and P-Rod was arguably one of the leaders for the technical aspect of skateboarding. This part was ahead of the time, and especially when it comes to nollie late front foot flips, P-Rod was one of those leading the way, being able to do it not only on flat, but to be able to do it down sets, into and out of ledges, and just making it look so effortless. In this part, one of the tricks that stands out to me as far as why it was cut so short when it comes to the editing aspect is the nollie 270 flip front nose slide, where the very first angle was actually prolonged, but it starts to look like he is sketching out the landing. Then they do a shot from behind to show just how precise the flip into the ledge was, and as soon as his wheels touch, it cuts out. The very first clip will slow down to show just how long of an actual landing it was and to see just how he was starting to get a little bit sketchy on the landing. And this is a trick that until I personally saw Brian Peacock do it in his Full Clip Friday, I was not aware that anybody else was even doing this trick, making it understandable for why this trick was incredibly hard to do and why someone would sketch out the landing of this. However, when it comes to looking at the rest of his clips in this part, this is the only clip that was cut incredibly short to be able to save what could possibly be a very sketchy landing. I have no doubt to believe that he did land this clip. However, as far as to try to cover it up and to make it look cleaner than it really is, leads me to question just how incredibly sketchy it could have been, making it a trick that I believe deserves to be on this list. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. I know that there's a lot more clips that I could have gone over. I've actually already started on a second list to be able to do a follow-up of 10 more clips that I believe were cut too short. But what do you guys feel about this list? I know that this might seem like a hater type of video, but I just wanted to be able to go into detail as far as, again, I do not believe that the skaters had any kind of input as far as being able to cut clips and to make them look as they did for their parts. But as far as an editing standpoint, I wanted to highlight clips that I felt were cut a little bit too short and that were not given their just dues. Even if they were very sketchy lands, some of the tricks were incredibly difficult and deserve to be able to be shown for just how difficult they really are and to give the trick true justice. But what do you feel about this list? Do you feel that it was good? What tricks do you feel that I left out? And what do you feel are clips that were cut way too short? Leave them down in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a share. For more content like this to see in the future, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video comes out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.